Hello, everyone. Welcome to BiogasWorld's Emerging Markets Focus Month webinar, discussing the challenges and opportunities of the biogas and biomethane markets in various emerging markets. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be shared with participants following the webinar. In addition, if you have any questions for our presenters, we invite you to write them in the Q&A tab, and we will ask them following their presentations or in the Q&A at the end of the webinar. BiogasWorld hosts new country-focused webinars throughout the year to discuss the opportunities and challenges within various markets. Be sure also to join us on our biogas community website for the latest updates and to network with companies in the biogas and biomethane industry. I would like to thank our presenters for joining us today. Dr. Abel Alemente, President of the Mexican Association of Biomasa and Biogas, Ahto Oja, Chairman of the Board for the Estonian Biogas Association, and Padraig Fleming, Biomethane Program Manager at Gas Networks Ireland. Before we begin, I'll share some brief information about BiogasWorld. BiogasWorld is a commercial platform which offers services to the biogas and biomethane industries. Our services include marketing and business promotion via our wide network of followers, market intelligence services, networking, and our biogas community platform. We have hosted country and region focus months for various national and regional biogas markets throughout the year, promoting the industry, companies, and projects located in the focus month region. So thank you for your attention. With that, I'll pass the floor over to Dr. Abel Alemente, President at AMBB. He holds a degree in Mechanical and Electrical Engineering from UNAM, National Autonomous University of Mexico, with a master's and doctoral degree in engineering. In over 40 years, he has developed projects in the following fields: oil and gas, water treatment, renewable energy, and automation. He provides specialized consulting services in hydrocarbons and bioenergy for public and private institutions. He has collaborated in the development of regulations on oil burners, biodigesters, and biomethane with industrial applications. He collaborates with the Mexican Biomasa and Biogas Association, AMBB, the College of Mechanical and Electrical Engineers, and the National Committee of Renewable Energy Experts, and the UNAM Energy Planning Unit. He holds registration number 15 as a certified collegiate expert in bioenergy from CIME Coniper. And with that, I will pass the floor over to you, Dr. Abel.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to BiogasWorld. Thank you, Natalia, for the invitation. And it's my pleasure to talk a little further on Mexico, and especially these days that is becoming very interesting for the changes that are about to happen in the legislation. I will start to share my presentation. Well, basically in Mexico, we are not the only biogas association, but we are very straightforward to looking for alternatives and concrete projects for the industry, for the environmental sector. And basically, we have been formed since 2006, and we have been collaborating in different areas, but we are a non-governmental association. That means that we are free to deal with the government and means also to deal with industries, and we are providing any kind of support. Starting for the basic, in Mexico, there's always a question about how much biomass can be produced, and that leads to the situation on how much biomass can be generated. Roughly speaking, in Mexico, we are having per year in the range of 140 tons of organic waste, then divided or split in municipal solid waste, livestock, agricultural waste, sludge from wastewater treatment plants, and forest waste. Basically, in the table that you can see, you can have an idea on what is the amount of biomass that can be converted into biogas or biomethane. And what it is happening now, this year, in March this year, the government, the actual administration led by President Dr. Sheinbaum, she promoted to change the landscape about the regulations for energy, and especially talking about that, the Biofuels Law or the Biofuels Act is becoming the tool that she's having for promoting sustainability in Mexico. And here you can see, for instance, at federal level, what are the changes that are happening these days. And that includes regulation, procedures, applications, permissions, powers of authorities, standards. Everything is changing from the federal level. and all the authorities are realigning to the now current energy approach from President Trump. And here, what is the biofuels law? What is the purpose of this? Basically, they want to go after the renewable energies and sustainability to secure the future in Mexico for clean energy and the diversification of the energy matrix. That's very important because basically the easiest and the cheapest way to diversify is thinking in biomass, biogas, and biomethane. And that makes that the people is expecting to have a lot of opportunities for investing and boosting what it is happening in the sector, not only in the agricultural sector, but also in the industry. The actual law has been revised to include all the chain, all the value chain that includes from the residual biomass, that all the things that we have been speaking, going after biogas, biomethane, and the main discussion here is how to inject the biomethane into the grid. That means that basically they are thinking that using this biomethane in the grid and can be spread all around the country in the natural gas grids, basically is helping in decarbonization of the country and the economy. That is very important because basically all the people in the industry is looking at this particular sector and trying to get advantage of how we can get biomethane, how we can reduce our carbon footprint, how we can balance our carbon taxation, and there is the real niche for biogas and biomethane. Basically, in this case, they are trying to analyze the different technologies that are being provided in the world, and the Ministry of Energy in Mexico, the Secretariat of Energy, the CENER, has been issuing this table, for instance, for the users, try to have an idea what technologies are best suitable for Mexico. And in here you can notice that biodigesters biomass is very important and it is growing in local applications, not only for rural applications, but also for wastewater treatment and for solid waste. In Mexico, we are having states, just like in the US, and we are having 32 states, 32 entities in the federation. And at this very moment, half of them are charging for the environmental taxation. That means that basically, if you are not reducing your footprint, you are releasing emissions to the atmosphere, you are going to be penalized for this pollution that is caused to the atmosphere. And here you can have an idea on what is the amount that is charged per every single ton of CO2e that is released into the atmosphere. So this is a very big change. Now, what is the potential in Mexico? In this slide, you can see in the left, what is the forecast that we have developed in the AMBB about the production of biomass, and you can notice also what types of biomasses we are talking about. For instance, solid waste, agricultural residues, livestock, or sludge, or the forest residues. So that is very important that you can have an idea on how much of the biomass is going to be produced in which state, because that allows you to allocate the project that you can be interested in Mexico. And places such as Jalisco, for instance, or Nuevo León, that are very active in the industry, they are also very big producers of biomass that can be transformed into biogas or biomethane. You can see in the right side of this slide our forecast on how much is the biogas production or how much is expected. Mexico is also talking about green H2. Yes, we are talking about that as well. And in here, in this projection, you can have an idea what is the potential that you can get in these energy products from the biomass that is produced in each individual state. What happens if we took all the biomass that is going to be produced in Mexico? How much electricity can be generated? Well, in this slide, you can notice that the potential that we have, if we were using all our biomass, is in the range of 5,000 megawatts. That is a lot of energy strictly coming from the waste. any kind of waste that we are talking about. That's a lot of energy that can be gotten from this approach. Now, what happens in the natural gas? I'm not sure if you are aware of that, but Mexico is importing a lot of natural gas, especially from the US. But in this very moment, what is the demand in Mexico? In the overall range, the total demand of natural gas in Mexico is ranging about 8 billion cubic feet a day. And just for industry, that means that the demand is ranging from, let's say, the 1,200 to 300,000. In here, you can have our forecast on how much of this can be interchanges for renewable natural gas. And if you notice, basically, we're talking about 60% of the demand on the industry for natural gas can be supplied by by biomethane. In here, you can have a forecast on, depending on the type of biomass that we are talking about, what is the amount of biomethane that can be produced for industrial applications. And this gives you an idea on where to focus, on which states, or which kind of projects we are talking about for taking advantage of the biogas or biomethane in Mexico. In here, basically, what are the business opportunities that we have ahead? Well, basically, we are talking about technologies for the technology vendors, for instance. All the supply of systems, equipment, part components, power generation devices, and everything on this is going to have a niche of opportunity in Mexico. We are talking about supplies. That means from clothing to containers and everything in regard to supporting the value chain is also an opportunity in Mexico. And services is very important when we are talking about training, consulting, engineering, health, and environmental care. And basically, as you can notice in here, and there are going to be a lot of opportunities ongoing in Mexico, especially due to these changes that we talk about. The biofuels law, and it is about to be released also, the circular economy law that is based basically in the use of biomethane and recycling most of the inorganic and the organic things in order to reduce the carbon footprint of the Mexican economy. So basically, this is a little forecast from Mexico, and I hope that you have now a better idea on where to go when you are talking about Mexico. Mexico is not only beaches, it's also business opportunity, and in regard to biogas, we have a lot of opportunities about to come, and they are happening these days. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. So one question I had was, in your tables of the potential for biogas and biomass in Mexico, so you have separated agricultural residues and livestock residues. So what
Right.
is included in agricultural waste? So is there certain crops that are more popular? And on that note as well, with the tables, it doesn't include landfill gas. So is that also falling under the new law, or is it under a separate existing law?
No, it is in the same law, in the biofuels law. For instance, they are focusing very much in urban applications. That means solid waste and biomethane coming out from landfills, and trying to develop more biogas facilities for processing the solid waste. But in our law, there are differences between the situation on livestock and agricultural. Agricultural means mostly crops and anything that has to do with the agricultural activity, but anything that is not alive, like animals or things like that. Livestock means everything that has to be with meat. Basically, in Mexico, the three kind of animals that they are focusing more are cattle. We are talking about pigs, and we are talking about also chicken. Basically, these are the three things that are related to biogas and biomethane. And in our law is very clear the separation among all these types of sources of biomethane.
Thank you. And thank you again for your
Welcome.
presentation. As a reminder, if there are any questions, to please put them in the Q&A, and we'll get to them now at the end of the webinar. Next, we have Ahto Oja. Ahto has worked as a renewable gases expert and consultant of biogas market analysis, the developer and manager for the first agricultural biomethane plant in the Baltic states. He has implemented renewable energy projects in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland, Ireland, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and Belarus. He established his own consulting company, Monis Minek Limited, in 2007, and has developed the Estonian biogas sector since, leading the Estonian Biogas Association since 2009. So Ahto, I'll pass it over to you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for invitation to present the Estonian experiences. You see my screen, yeah?
Yes.
Good. So I said all the titles, and really I'm ready to also consult for bioenergy, biomethane, and renewable energy in Estonia, in region or worldwide. Just ask. That's as a Estonia small country compared to others. I just put it on the map. You see the Europe here, and in green circle, that's our small Estonia, with population 1.37 million and size of 45,000, a bit more square kilometers. So really pretty small, I would say, one of the smallest countries in European Union, except some islands. Some historical insights, I say the first potential was made potential assessments were started around 2000 from universities, and first papers are presented there. Then I started my career in biomethane in 2007 with my consulting company, Monis Minek, established Estonian Biogas Association, which I lead since. We also had few European transfer projects like Gas Highway or Regatrace, and we have been actively participated in Estonia long-term renewable fuel action plans and energy action plans, and this work also is going on. But currently in Estonia we have 9 biomethane plants and 12 biogas plants, including 4 landfill biogas plants. Then we have 4 on wastewater sludge. We have 4 on industrial process wastewater sludge biogas, and then 2 industrial biomethane and 7 agricultural biomethane plants. And you see we also have 5 newcomers, 3 projects are already under construction, and through 2 of them, 2 plus 2 are still developing. But if they will be all constructed and start to produce, then it will also double the Estonian annual production. Here you see the growth. The first biomethane plant started 2018, and the growth has been steady. I said from first 2, now we have reached 9 plus 4 or 5 by the end of next year. And the production in gigawatt hours has been reached almost 300, or the other words, 0.3 terawatt hours per year. Here also we assess the potential back and forward. Roughly said 1/4 of this 3 to 4.5 terawatt hours, 1/4 of that is different waste streams, and 3/4 are also so-called agricultural residues or grass silage, which is not used for the livestock or as not any other use. It's just cut down for the landscape purposes. So this is the majority of potential is there. Here also, with the same assessment for the long-term energy action plan, we assessed where this biomass is available. And you see that then lighter or red, then less intensive the agriculture is, then more are the land and grassy silage for the biogas plants. So on that map, you see for the biomethane plants potential up to 40. And I said now 9 of them, or almost quarter, is already working or under construction. So also small upper map shows the pig farms, the potential, and lower map says dairy farms. The red dots, then bigger is the red dot, then more animals are there. And the yellow line is the gas transmission grid. So it's international with high pressure, like between 30 and 50 bars, and it goes from north to Finland, and from south it goes to Latvia, Lithuania, and through connection between Poland and Lithuania, it reaches to the Central Europe, Germany, and the rest of Europe. So if we inject to this transmission grid the biomethane, we can trade with the biomethane molecule and certificate within all European area. Here is the current map, the same black lines, the same transmission grid, and they are all bigger farms, but also the current different biogas plants which are already working. Tallinn capital area most, Tartu is the second biggest city, and as you see, that central Estonia is more intensive agriculturally managed land. Also, the use and comparison was with natural gas. Last year, natural gas consumption was something below 4 terawatt hours, and it also distributes quite equally between the business services, households, industry, energy, and also 8% are used in transport. We have 15 counties, and you see the yellow column is the natural gas consumption in particular county, and the green one is the biomethane potential. And you see in few bigger counties, the natural gas is higher, but in most counties we can produce biomethane, and in half of the counties we can substitute the natural gas with local renewable biomethane 100% or more. Here you see the development of our number of trucks when we, let's say 13 years ago, assessed how many trucks and buses we could have to reach the 5% of renewable energy or renewable gas consumption in traffic. We got the number 5,600 vehicles. In reality, we oversold that, getting almost 2,650 vehicles. So the development has been really significant. From zero scratch, we first also the first filling station was opened in 2008 or 9. This is a map of filling stations. Currently, we have almost close to 30 filling stations. Every blue dot indicates for the filling station with the addresses and interactive map. If you click on that, you can open the address and conditions. So far, we also have the 2 liquefied natural gas filling stations around the Tallinn for the trucks, and hopefully a few more LNG filling stations will be built soon. So Estonian visibility concerning the law, why the growth has been steadily growing, is because we have this electronic register for the biomethane certificates, and it connects the market participants, producers, sellers, operators. And this register issues the certificates of origin, and it's also has the quota certifications to fulfill the national transport sector obligations, renewable fuels in transport. And the trick is that the biomethane certificate can be substituted or used to buy the renewable fuel physically. It means instead of, for example, buying 100 megawatts of biodiesel or bioethanol, you can buy 100 megawatts of biomethane certificate, and then you fulfill with the certificate obligation. And that has boosted the biomethane development in Estonia. And that's not the Estonian law, that comes from European Renewable Energy Directive, where all the European countries have agreed that by 2030, 14% of transport should be fueled with renewable fuels from renewable origin. And as I said, this biomethane certificate is one of the tools to reach this 14%, as also written here. And that creates demand that comes from the Liquid Fuel Act, and also this Ministry of Climate by 2022, there's procedure of trading biofuel, biomethane, and also electricity statistics and the greenhouse gas emission statistics. So it's the legal measurement, and it really promotes the the market in Estonia, I would say also in most of the European Union countries. That's a bit the same within here. You see the certificate and rights, yeah. And of course, this certificate has to prove that it answers to the sustainability criteria, which means that you don't use the more fossil fuels to grow it or to produce it, then you get it. And that's the highest price of the certificate you will get if you produce the biomethane from waste, from manure, 100%. If you add some grass silage or you use some fossil fuels to grow some feedstock, then the certificate price is lower, the CO score is higher. And as I said, this certificate covers the gap between the price of biomethane and natural gas. And the biomethane price producer gets so far is a natural gas price per molecule and the biomethane certificate price for the certificate. And it has been like in the range of 20 to 10, and in best case unsubsidized and very high CI score, 100% from manure, the price of certificate can increase up to 100 megawatt hour, 100 euros per megawatt hour. So yeah, the euro is in front. That's the example of this DSO online platform. You see the biomethane here, the bilateral like pre-trading 130 transactions, and average price 103 euros per megawatt. And in other like second quarter of 24, there was 141 transactions for pre-trading, and the average price was 121 euros per megawatt. Yeah, so it's also possible to import the biomethane in future or export, but that requires the physical reach to the supplier, to the TSO, and it also needs the kind of European rules and standards to be adopted. So far, the system has not started yet, at least from Estonian side, but we hope it will be in near future. My and our association kind of vision is what is not maybe written down here is actually before we start or think about exporting, we would like to follow the Danish example or vision, which is by 2050 to have 100% methane in our gas grid being a local renewable biomethane. It means 100% to substitute the natural gas with Estonian produced biomethane. That's the export stuff. Yeah, I'm a bit further with my speech. Yeah, and if it's exported, then it's not included to Estonian consumption calculations to avoid the multiple declarations. Certificate origin of the proof of sustainability must move together, and as transactional resolution, verification of foreign consumption in the Estonian bionutrition is allowed, which means a certificate goes to the counterpart register, and to prevent multiple declarations of consumption, the consumer of biomethane will be indicated of the corresponding certificate. And that's the kind of the example of this pan-European system, which are the different systems are now applied, but in future the registers should communicate each other so the producers, consumers are in the same systems and can trade online freely and can make the pre-treatments, pre-transaction contracts, or to also make auctions like for the shorter period. And a bit from back, how to get this boost also in transport, we had the different support measures. For example, public buses. Now half of the counties and bigger cities, the public transport is running on biomethane or natural gas. We guess that latest by the end of next year, when the new 3+2 biomethane plants start to produce, then all the transport will be used locally produced biomethane. We also had the support of the filling stations, like 35% of the capex, maximum 350,000 per project. That also made a kind of boost for the first 10-15 filling stations. And then the last way, this five new plants started to produce. They got 60% capex support, maximum 5 million euros per project. That was kind of auction. There was eight applications, and the maximum sum 20,000 was fixed, or 19,600 was fixed. So 5 projects got funding out of that, and hopefully next year the next round will be open. And also we had the regulation to use a digest as fertilizer. It has to answer to these 2 regulations, especially the second requirements for digest from biogas production from biowaste. If the biomethane is made 100% from agricultural manure, then this certification is not needed. The digest is managed and used, and all the rules apply as for manure. But if you use the biowaste, then this rule applies, and you have to follow to give some limits on that. Yeah, then just a few numbers. The roadmap for 2013 from Association to reach the production threshold up to 1 terawatt-hour, to reach the vehicles threshold to 15,000, and to double the filling stations up to 50 filling stations in the next 10 years. Thank you, and welcome to ask questions.
Thank you for your presentation. One question I had, so you mentioned Estonia being a small country. Do you have any information on the sort of average size of the farms, and is it common for a farm to develop a system itself, or to develop systems whereby several farms will form sort of a cooperative and share the digester system?
Both options are working. In Estonia, we have few very large farms, not so big as US, but the biggest, I think, in Estonia is 2,500 dairy cows, plus 10 young generations, and then up to 10 farms maybe has dairy cows between 1,500, 2,000. And then we have mid-range, and we almost don't have any small farms. And the current biogas or biomethane plants, agricultural, have also both kind of methods. A few of them close to the bigger farms are using only 1 farm feedstock, but in few cases also the group of farms, like up to 10 farms, are in surrounding taking feedstock to 1 plant. And one of the new plants in the Saaremaa, they really collect the pig manure from all the island to keep it to 1 place together, make the biomethane there, and then take the digest back to the farms to fertilize the fields.
Great, thank you. And maybe if we have another minute here, one more quick question. So in your experience, how might it be best to communicate with the local communities that these facilities are not harmful to the communities themselves or the surrounding environment?
Yeah, well, we have, as far as we present the biogas plant idea to the new communities, then the first fear is smell. And for people, it's hard to believe that if you digest the manure, then it is almost without the smell. And believe it or not, first time took really the 2 buckets to the presentations. One was raw slurry, which has definitely the slurry smell. Every farmers know, or every people know who has it. And a bucket with digest, without almost no smell. And that's the most convincing, actually, in reality, to show that it reduces the smell. And then of course, the feedstock transport, and that can be managed under the roof or under the closed rooms, and then it reduces the smell mostly. That's one thing. And if they see it, they really start to believe that's distributing the digest as fertilizer to the fields. It's less, almost no smell, and it's the life quality increases definitely. The seconds are more like city myths, like explosion dangers, which is almost minimized because all the products are certified and well-managed plant will not explode. And yeah, these are the two like main fairs, but it's only the knowledge sharing, showing. Most also very good example is to take the people to the existing biomethane plant, that they see, they can smell, they can see that it's closed system working under pressure, anaerobic, even they can't kind of leak anything. It's also in the interest of producer. So it's the practical examples are most convincing to the people. And in last case, the community group visited our plant, and they said they are supporting our idea to also build a similar plant to their community to get rid of the manure smell in the summer, spring and autumn, when the farmer is distributing the slurry to the fields.
Well, perfect. Thank you for your
Cool.
presentation. If there are
Thank
any
you.
additional questions, please put them in the Q&A and we'll try to get them at the end of the webinar. Next, we have Padraig Fleming. Padraig is the biomethane program manager for Gas Networks Ireland. Gas Networks Ireland is the national gas transmission and distribution company in Ireland. Padraig has been in the energy business, for over 30 years, working in utilities, including electricity and water, in addition to working for the Commission for the Regulation of Utilities. He has also spent time working in ESCOM, South Africa, and is currently the co-chair of the Gas Infrastructure Europe Biomethane Working Group. Padraig, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. Ahto, if you can stop sharing and I'll share my presentation, please. Thank you. Okay. I take it you can see the screen there. So basically I'll start by telling you a little bit about Ireland. Like Ahto's description, Ireland also is a relatively small nation, probably a little bit bigger than Estonia, maybe less than twice the size of Estonia, but still a relatively small country in Europe. We're a country of about 5 million people. I work for the gas networks there. We own and operate the gas transmission system, which is the high pressure network, but also the gas distribution network, which is mostly at 4 bar, but we also have some slightly higher pressures for certain industrial loads. We also have a transmission network in Northern Ireland, which is shown in the picture here, a kind of blue line heading up along the east coast and along the north coast of Northern Ireland. The other lines here shown in orange, or it's orange in my screen, are other distribution companies not owned by us. And probably one of the things I will draw attention to is you can see 1 or 2 parts of the country which are a lot of white background, where we don't have a lot of network. So up in the very northwest of the country, we don't have too much gas network there. We don't have any gas network there, to be more direct about it. And that's relevant because we are coming up with a solution for that as well when it comes to biomethane. We have over 700,000 customers connected to our network. I guess while a lot of people, even in Ireland, think a lot of that is household and for heating, only about 12 to 14% of our demand or our load is in the domestic sector. A lot of it is industrial, and probably about half it is for the power sector in the production of electricity. We have a lot of wind energy in Ireland, but to balance that, we then need a lot of peaking plants which use gas and meet the troughs in wind and solar production. We also have solar in Ireland, which might be a surprise for some people. We do a growing solar energy there. Currently, we're really only at the start of the journey in relation to biomethane. We have been injecting biomethane into our gas network since January 2020. We have about 100 biogas plants, but only 2 biomethane plants injecting into the network. Also, a lot of our plants at the moment are quite small, so we expect that to grow quite a bit in the coming years. So one of the important things for us in gas networks, our current demand for gas is about 56 terawatt hours, which is quite considerably more than Estonia. And I think, again, a lot of that is because we use a lot of gas in electricity. And our plan is to decarbonize our network by 2045, and that will be through a combination of 2 gas solutions. One is biomethane and the other is hydrogen. So while I am focused on biomethane and increasing biomethane in our networks, there are colleagues of mine who are busy with hydrogen. We expect hydrogen to take a little bit longer to get there. I think biomethane is seen as something that should develop quite quickly in Ireland. So we expect a kind of high growth, but given the demand we have at the moment, we expect possibly about a quarter of our current demand for gas can be met by biomethane in the future. We have different stages of development that we're anticipating our network, because we expect some of our transmission networks in particular to migrate to hydrogen in the future, leaving particularly our distribution networks operating in the methane molecule, but that methane molecule will change from a fossil gas to biomethane itself in the coming years. So the kind of vision we have for the gas infrastructure, by the way, we transport almost twice as much energy on our gas grid in Ireland than is transported in our electricity grid. So gas is really important. If we compare that to, say, the European Union as a whole, they're almost 1-to-1. Gas and electricity is almost 1-to-1. There's slightly more gas used in Europe on a kilowatt basis than electricity. So gas is really important to the European Union, but probably in Ireland, it is even more pronounced than that. So we see some of our existing customers switching to biomethane, such as electricity industrial customers and intensive heat users as they try to decarbonize. But probably the new area which we will be interacting with a lot more is agriculture, and we see a lot of potential for that in Ireland. And as I said, the big changes for us will be biomethane in the gas network, hydrogen in our transmission network, and then transport is a growing area, which at the moment only uses a small amount of compressed natural gas. So we're seeing that increase slowly for the moment, but we expect that to increase further. And then as biomethane starts to be produced in the network, that some of our heavy goods vehicles will be using compressed biomethane. We don't expect cars so much on our transport system. We think cars will become electrified, or they are becoming electrified, but heavy goods vehicles are much more suitable for gas than for compressed natural gas than electricity. One of the things I did, I think at the end of 2022, was I went out with a request for information out to the Irish market. I asked people who wanted to build a biomethane plant, where, what feedstocks they wanted to use. We got some very useful information from that. We got 178 projects responded with a total of about 14.8 terawatt hours. Now, 14.8 terawatt hours is almost 25% of our current demand for natural gas. We got a pretty healthy spread all over the country, some locations a little bit more than others. I think there are areas, for example, in the North Midlands of County Cavan and County Monaghan, there's quite a lot of normal agriculture there, but there's intensive agriculture in the area of poultry and pig production. So there's much more feedstock there. In relation to feedstocks themselves, we expect a significant portion of feedstocks to be agricultural in nature. We don't really draw, well, there are distinctions obviously between agricultural waste and crops. We expect the main crop in Ireland to actually be grass, because we're not going to pursue energy crops here. It's going to be problematic to meet the European standards for the renewable energy directives 2 or 3, which are published by the European Union. So we expect grass may be one of the main feedstocks, but by far the majority of feedstock will be manures and that from farms. In discussions with equipment suppliers from Germany about a year ago, I was pointing out that if you think of Ireland and you think of Germany, for those of you who are familiar with both countries, Germany is about 18 times the size of Ireland by population of people. And Germany is probably the leading country in the European Union for biogas and biomethane. It's got about 8,000 plants in total. But if you think of animals on farms, of different types of farms, the population of Ireland is only about half that of Germany. So we expect significant feedstock, and Ireland is seen as one of the countries on a per capita basis, which has the highest potential for biomethane. So we see biomethane as a significant growth area in energy solutions in Ireland. We do have a number of challenges. Couple of things that have happened in recent years. Just over a year ago, on May of 2024, last year, the government published the first biomethane, the National Biomethane Strategy, and that set out a number of actions for various bodies, from the Environmental Protection Agency, the Commission for Regulation of Utilities, and us as the gas network operator, as well as others, Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland and the department itself, to actually undertake a certain number of actions to facilitate biomethane and to remove barriers to the development of biomethane. Work has been going on in that, but I think generally the industry is a little bit frustrated. We all need to work a little bit faster, and I think there is a call to get there faster from the industry. As the network operator, we've seen an increase in the number of connection offers. We signed some connection offers last year. It did slow down because the government is bringing out what's called the renewable heat obligation. So we have a transport fuel obligation in the transport sector where, give or take, 15 to 16% of our fuels in our cars and trucks has to be renewable. They're planning to bring in a renewable heat obligation so that heat consumption will equally have to meet a renewable fuels target, starting out probably initially with 1.5%, going to 3% in year 2, and they expect to grow that over time to something similar to the renewable transport obligation. The legislation for that is currently being drafted, and we expect that to be published later this year. The industry has slowed down a little bit in the last 12 months because they're waiting to see what that legislation means. But that's going to place an obligation. We know roughly how it's going to work. It will place an obligation on all fuel suppliers. So that's gas and energy suppliers, even solid fuel suppliers, will have to source renewable sources of heating fuel. The slow development of that has caused a little bit of delay in the market, as I say, but we are seeing new connections coming. We expect to sign some more contracts in the next couple of months. We have a very small amount of biomethane on our gas network at the moment, but we do expect that to grow. The government have set a target of 5.7 terawatt hours by 2030. That's about 10% of our gas demand, our current gas demand by 2030, which is only 5 years away. So that's quite a demanding target. It is difficult to see that target being met on time, but I think it will be met, but possibly a little bit later than 2030. I find it difficult to see it being met. It's quite a challenging target, given that we've only 5 years to make it. But I suppose we are drawing in inspiration from other European countries. So, for example, if I take, for example, Denmark, in the first 8 years of connecting biomethane plants to their network, they went from 0 to, I think it was 38% of their gas demand from biomethane in the space of 8 years. And to compare that to their renewable electricity sector, it took them 25 years to get to the same level in their electricity network. So we're confident it can be done, but it is quite a challenging deadline. Because biomethane is relatively new in Ireland, and it was referred to by Ahto in the last presentation as well, there is a challenge there. I think our Ryan's questions were questioning about, how to get people to accept it in local communities. There are some specific issues in Ireland. Again, I refer back to Ryan's questions in terms of scale. So we have an unusual situation in Ireland. We have a lot of small-scale farms. It's a historic legacy going back to about 2 centuries ago. We expect a lot of feedstocks to be drawn or transported to a central biomethane plant. And this is probably going to encourage slightly larger scale biomethane plants. The average size of biomethane plant we're seeing so far is about 80 gigawatt hours per annum. I think that's about 40 standard cubic meters per hour. Sorry, I come more from an electricity background originally, so I have a tendency to go in kilowatts, megawatts, and gigawatts. So I apologize for that for all of you from the gas industry. I think in future we may see even larger plants, but it's difficult to gauge exactly what the average size of plant will be in the longer term in Ireland. Other issues we are worried about is the pace of development. The government has brought out a first support scheme last year where they offered capital grants, which were awarded to 18 biomethane plants. They are proposing to bring a new scheme out next year with a larger sum of money. The original sum was 40 million, which in the scale of what we're trying to achieve is small. I think they will be bringing out a bigger scheme next year in 2026. So we do expect the market to accelerate in the coming years. But again, as I say, attaining 5.7 terawatt hours by 2030 could be quite a challenge. The other area I think we are interested in, I mentioned one or two white patches in the map where we don't have any network. So one of the things we're doing is we're building a central grid injection facility. So this is plants that are maybe a little bit smaller and are not economic to connect directly to the pipeline. So we can transport the gas by truck, or one or two of those white areas where we have to, from the map, that we have to, they're too far away from existing network and we can transport the gas. In fact, we're already doing this. We put some money into an innovation project to the plant that's injecting so far from 2020 is a small scale central grid injection facility, and gas is transported by trailer at 250 bar and injected into the distribution network, into the 4-bar network. So we're already doing that. The other area I guess we are looking at is we're responsible for certification. So there was a reference previously to guarantees of origin and proof of sustainability. So we are designated as the state body to do that. We've been doing this as a voluntary body for about the last 4 or 5 years, but the legislation was only passed 2 years ago to make us the state body to do that. And the last part of the process of recognizing us as the official state body for doing it is underway at the moment. It should be done probably by August, which means we will change from being a voluntary body to an official state body. The importance of that which was mentioned in the Estonian case, is under the EU legislation, there's a European database has been launched last November. It is not fully functioning as yet because not all states around Europe are set up to link in with it, and that's proving a little bit problematic. So, for example, if I in Ireland wanted to import biomethane or biomethane certificates from Estonia to Ireland, I would have to do something which is called mass balancing, which is I would have to show records of transporting gas and certificates all the way from Estonia to Ireland, right across all the different transmission grids in between, across Poland, across Germany, across Holland, across the UK, and into Ireland. So the issue there is, under the European database, how it's meant to work is once it's injected in one part of the European Union, you shouldn't have to do that mass balancing, and you should be able to just take the certs out as a customer on a different state. So it's meant to help trading of biomethane certs and biomethane gas across the European Union. There's still quite a bit of work to do in that, but we're hoping that will work a little bit better in the near future. But as I said, there's still work to be done in that specific area. So we have customers on our gas network who are importing biomethane, and we facilitate the certification of that. Quantities are small at the moment. Most customers are doing it on a test basis to meet their carbon. If they're under the European Emissions Trading Scheme, they can do that and have it recognized by the EPA. So it means they don't have to be buying carbon credits. If they're a smaller customer, they don't have to pay carbon tax insofar as they use biomethane gas. So there's an immediate benefit there. I guess the last thing I'm saying here is in relation to our own issues that we're having locally. We still have quite a bit of work to do with the regulator on some of our policies. We're looking at things like, we have an economic test when we connect customers, which is really about locational signals to see what is economic to connect to the grid. We have financial security that is associated with the cost, because we take 70% or maximum of 70% of the capital cost of connecting a biomethane plant onto our asset base rather than the customer paying for that, or the biomethane developer paying for it. And we also have reverse compression, which is a really important issue, because while we run the distribution networks, we have about 47 distribution networks hanging off our transmission system. And some of those are in very rural areas, and they have low demand in summer. So in the summertime, we're going to have to compress that gas back into the transmission system to deliver it to other customers. So reverse grid compression is something that's really important. We want to put the cost of that onto our network rather than charging the biomethane developer for it, and socialize the charge across customers. Networks connections, I guess, as I said, there's two means of getting the gas into the network. The first is a direct connection using a pipeline. But for those plants which are too far from the existing pipeline, or maybe too small to make it economical to connect via pipeline, we can transport that virtually in a trailer or truck and inject it. We're building a plant in a place called Mitchelstown, which is down the southwest of Ireland. That's our first full large-scale central grid injection facility. I've mentioned about the green gas register. I won't go back over that. The other thing, we're working with demand customers as well to help them understand that, you know, you don't have to change over your factory to electricity heating, which is quite expensive, because in Ireland, at least, electricity costs about 3 times the amount of gas per kilowatt hour, or maybe more. So that if you use biomethane, even though biomethane is more expensive than conventional gas, it may be a cheaper solution to decarbonize your energy. If you already have a gas boiler, then it may make more sense for you to actually use biomethane rather than electrify. And we do seem to have a problem in Ireland where the European policy was electrify first. We feel it got mistranslated when it came to Ireland. Sometimes people think of electrify only, which does not make sense in all cases. So we're battling a little bit of brand imaging for gas in that respect. The other area I mentioned is we're quite busy in terms of delivering bio-CNG for fuel stations. We've really only started that a few years ago, and we see a lot of potential for the transport sector, particularly the heavy goods vehicles, to decarbonize using bio-CNG.
Sorry to cut you off, Padraig. Could we move to the conclusion?
I think that's I can conclude there. I'd say I think I've mentioned the target of 5.7 terawatt hours. The rest of this is really, we think we have a lot of potential, and we're hoping to get about 1 terawatt hour by the end of 2025. But again, I think we'll fall short of that. So I'll stop there. Thanks, Ryan.
And thank you for your presentation. Just being mindful of everybody's time here, we've come to the hour. So any questions that were left, or for our concluding remarks from our presenters, you may share them with participants following the webinar, just so that we don't run too over the hour here. So I would like to thank everybody for their time today, for joining us. As a reminder, the webinar recording will be shared with participants next week. And we invite everyone to join us on the Biogas community platform to get your questions answered and get those last remarks. I'd like to thank everyone again for joining us today, and of course our presenters as well, Dr. Abel Alemente with AMBB, Ahto Oja with the Estonian Biogas Association, and Padraig Fleming with Gas Networks Ireland. Thank you all.